Well, howdy there, Internet people. It's Bo again. So today we are going to do a Q&A for July, and these are your questions. I don't think these have any theme whatsoever, so these will be all over the place. I haven't seen these before, so you're getting kind of an off-the-cuff answer. If you want to send one in for a future video, it is question4bo over on Gmail. Okay. All right, so why are so many politicians' promotional videos, them walking through the halls of Congress, why aren't they working? It's funny because that's an old filmmaker's trick. It's how you move a story along when there's no action. Think about, what is it? The doctor that's super House. Or a lot of procedurals. It shows the cast walking and talking in a hallway. It's to provide the illusion of action while nothing is really happening. So I would imagine it's for the same reason. From a leftist perspective, can I work as a harm reduction specialist if it's a position that is paid for by law enforcement? A harm reduction specialist. I mean, okay, so you have to determine what you're really asking. Are you talking about like the online left and how they're going to see it? You're a cop. If you're talking about like leftist principles, if your entire job is engaging in harm reduction, like, you know, administering stuff to stop people who have hurt themselves, stuff like that, and you're not actually, you know, engaged in law enforcement, I don't necessarily think that that's really wrong. I mean, it's something that the left advocates for, but oftentimes those positions get rolled into a police department. I don't think they should be, but government bureaucracies being what they are, it often does. It's funny because one of my favorite, like, actual left, not American left, but actual left people on Twitter recently, like, tweeted out something that was like, you know, I love my job or something like that. And I believe they were fully prepared to take heat for that statement, even though their job, I want to say they're like a tenant advocate or something like that. But it is, there's a lot of the online left that is very very concerned and very aware of ideology and not necessarily the practical implications of what they're saying. So I hope that helps. I don't know what kind of answer you're going for, and I don't know the specifics of the job. What about this person on Twitter and their predictions? This is scary. And there's a screenshot here. So this is true of anybody who gives predictions on Twitter, particularly those that may be scary, may be filled with a lot of hyperbole. Look at how they make their predictions, what they say. Is it in a month, in 3 months, in 30 days, in a year? Or do they say within this period? You know, look at how they made their prediction and then search their profile for those terms. You will see their previous predictions and you'll know whether or not to put any real stock in it. Talk about the Jason Aldean song. Oh. So I've recorded 2 videos on this so far, and I haven't released either one because I don't think either one fully captures the issues I have with the song in general and the video itself. There are a bunch of obvious issues that have been very well discussed all over the place as far as the scene where it was filmed and all of that stuff. But there's other issues with it. Primarily, that song is written and filmed for people from the suburbs. That's not, it is not an accurate reflection of small towns. Just the general idea of, there's the one line in it. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, a country singer put out a song that just has a whole bunch of issues. Tons, ranging from stuff that certainly appears to be very dog whistly to the location where it was filmed and the message it sends. Those are probably much bigger issues. But for me, one of the things that I always notice about songs like this is that they are written by people who do not understand small towns. There's actually a line in this that's like, cuss out a cop, try that in a small town or something like that. I'm like, yeah, that's Tuesday. Tell me you've never been to a small town without telling me. That's very normal. In my entire life, I have never heard a good old boy say, "Oh, good, the cops are here, back the blue." That's not a sentence out here. It's a song written for people from the suburbs that think they are more rural than they are. But there's a list of issues with that song. At some point, I'm hoping I can get my all of my views into a single video and release it, because it's not good. I don't know anybody who is actually rural who was like, yeah, this is a great song. It's not for us. My friend told me some rumors about why the military budget for Viagra is so high. Can you talk about some of those rumors? Just want to know if they're real. Okay, so if you missed this, there was, I want to say it happened in Congress. Anyway, it came to light how much the U.S. military spends on this particular medication. Now, the real reason is that that's for older people in the service or who have retired in some cases. I'm not sure what number they were using. But there are rumors about off-label use in the military. Some buds may use it or may have used it in the past to get through a certain training program. There was a rumor going around about it being used for people who were, I want to say, going up into the mountains, a special team that was headed up into the mountains. And then there's something that is probably far more common, or was far more common, in conflicts like Afghanistan. A lot of times cash payments to local officials help with things. People all over the world have the same desires. And a lot of it might have been used that way. Those are all the rumors that I'm aware of. There's probably more. Most times rumors like this, they're at least somewhat grounded in reality. Whether or not the medical application was accurate or, scientifically based, that's one thing. But I truly believe that these things were tried that way. But I don't know that actually impacts the bottom line on any of it. Not to any major degree. The only thing I have to hand it to the authoritarian traditionalist on is their take on architecture. There's a Twitter account that that shows architecture from the late 1800s versus what replaced it in the 50s. I was wondering if you had any thoughts on this. First, you never have to hand it to authoritarians. Just to throw that out there. Second, the reason it might be enlightening to try to figure out what might have happened just prior to the 1950s in Europe that required the architecture to be replaced. Something might have happened in the 1940s that altered the skylines of a lot of cities. I would suggest the architecture being changed is the fault of authoritarians. Just saying. Howdy there, Bo. It's another internet person. I wanted to thank you for everything you all are doing with the YouTube channels. I was curious about the possibility of you setting up a seed tree cutting exchange parallel to the gardening videos. I mean, I'm not opposed to it. I hadn't thought about it. I don't know that we have the time to actually run one, but if there was one that was set up that was actually functioning, I wouldn't mind like highlighting it. As far as the tree cutting exchange thing, you can get into issues with that if you cross state lines sometimes. Like there's a lot of legal stuff that you'd have to work through here. But I mean, I wouldn't be opposed to helping one that was up and running. Let's see. You once said a woman had quite a rack, and it seemed very out of character for you, so I didn't say anything. Then you said Trump might have quite a rack. You once said it about your wife too. Am I missing something? Or is it a sexist/fat man joke? Okay. That's super funny. Okay, on a soldier's uniform, all of the medals, the ribbons is what they're, anyway, the colored little rectangles on their uniform, all together, those are a rack. That's what it's called. This is, I mean, yeah, this is funny. So he said that his indictments were a badge of honor. He was going to have quite a rack. The phrase quite a rack indicates either a large quantity or it may be a small quantity, but they are ribbons that are associated with heroism. You have a lot of generals who have large racks. They have quite a rack. But that doesn't necessarily mean that those medals were given for valor. I know one person who basically has, the everybody ribbons, the ones that pretty much everybody gets when they're in, 2 campaign medals, and then everything else, he only has 3 others, but it's a Bronze Star, a Silver Star, and a Purple Heart. Even though there's not a large quantity, that is something that would also be described as quite a rack. And yes, my wife does have quite a rack as well. I didn't necessarily catch the second meaning there, which is really bad because the only time I can think of that I might have said that about a woman in a video is the woman who highlighted all of the issues with harassment at Hood. And if you were taking that in another way, yeah, that would be pretty horrible. But no, that has to do with their ribbons. Okay. We know so much about your life. What do you know about us? I I mean, I guess that would depend on which individual. Some of y'all, I feel like I know. Like I know David's daughter, just became a tattoo artist and like fulfilled her dream because I saw it on social media. I do kind of scroll through when I can, and I pay attention, but I don't really know what that means. If you're talking, of course, that could mean like how much information do we get about viewers? And the answer to that is a lot. YouTube gives us analytics on everything. So if that's what you're asking about, YouTube analytics are incredibly in depth. Like I can tell you cities and states where where we have a lot of reach. I can tell you age brackets, what time different age brackets watch. Like there's tons of information like that. What do you think of the Margot Robbie thing? Oh, oh, that she's mid? Yeah, I saw that. There are a whole lot of people, a whole lot of men on social media who convince me often that the reason they have trouble dating is because they're not interested in women. um, that, yeah. And they just, rather than admit that, they attack women. Yeah, I personally think that she's very pretty, if that's the question. I saw a commentator say NATO could destroy Russia's forces in Ukraine in a day. Why doesn't it and then just stop at the border? Okay, in a day, no. That's American exceptionalism or NATO exceptionalism. It would probably take about a week. Why doesn't it? Even if you were to set aside the obvious risk of escalation, there's another thing at play. The United States, and by extension NATO, if they were to do that, they would do it mostly with air power. The first things that they would do would be to hit command and control and air defense. Those locations, those that are in Ukraine, they're in Ukrainian cities. It's not... The U.S. military is a broadsword, not a scalpel. One of the reasons that I think Ukraine is handling this properly is that they're doing it themselves. They're going to be far more careful than the U.S. or NATO forces would be while fighting on their own soil, while fighting on Ukrainian soil. It's not, we can talk about how precise U.S. air power is, and it's the most precise on the planet. But accuracy becomes really relative when you are talking about, something that hits the building next door to you. Yes, it could be done, but the cost to the civilian populace would probably be more than most people want. Now, is that why they don't do it? I don't know. But I would hope that at least factors into it. I've noticed that in some videos there is a sound like a pen clicking that will happen occasionally. Is that an intentional thing with some kind of meaning like the upside down patch, or just an audio glitch? Yeah, that is it is an audio glitch. It is something physical, like it's a mic or a cable or something, and I have been trying to figure it out. We have replaced all of the components, and tried to figure out which piece it is that's causing the issue. But much like taking a car to a mechanic, when we're actually working on it and trying to figure it out, it doesn't do it. But what we do know is that it's a problem. It's a physical issue. It's not something that is that's like in the recording or a digital thing. It's something that is actually happening as it's being recorded. If anybody has any advice, I'm totally open to it. But no, it is not it's not an intentional message or anything like that. Sometimes a glitch is just a glitch. But so that's it. Those were the questions that we had come in, and I'm sure that we will have more come next week. This is going to be a regular thing, so we can try to get everybody's questions, especially if it's something that doesn't prompt a full video. And there will definitely be more themed videos coming on this channel. Anyway, it's just a thought. Y'all have a good day.